Hello and namaste. This is Tim Halloran reporting to you from the primordial forests of Savannah, Georgia in the sweltering heat, where it appears there are some wild strawberries growing around here, which is kind of cool. This is a weekly astrological report. Specifically, this is a new moon report, so we're actually going to be talking about the energy of the upcoming month, the month of August. Alright? And the sun has just moved into Leo. He crossed over into Leo yesterday. And this is a powerful, energetic time that we are entering. Now, I know many people say, astrologers are always saying that there is powerful, energetic time approaching, because there is always powerful times coming and going and coming and going and coming and going. However, astrology gives us an idea as to how the specific power or energy is, because the frequency changes. This is what astrology is really about. It's about falling in line with nature. It's about getting in tune with the music. It's not so much, oh, let me tap into my third eye, and you will have 3 children, and you will go through a divorce in July. I mean, I'm not saying that's not possible, and other astrologers are very talented at it. I'm not. I more focus on the general gist of the movements and the dance that we're going through, but no doubt any astrologer, this is what we're actually doing, is it's not I'm predicting the future. It is about getting in sync with the movements of nature. There is a dance, there is a play. This is how energy works. There's movement, there's fluctuation. So what we can see by studying this upcoming new moon, which is on Saturday, July 26th, and then we follow that through to the full moon on August 10th in Aquarius. Then the next new moon is going to be in Virgo. We start seeing the divine play, and we start seeing how lessons are learning, how we move in one direction, and then we have to curb because we get too far off, and then we move in another direction, and then we curb. And this is the spiral of learning and evolution that is happening eternally. Alright, so when we look at the new moon and the full moon of the upcoming month, you know, this Leo time, the story is pretty potent, alright? You know, we have a number of things going on that is really allowing this energy to build up, and be released. That's not saying that there's not going to be challenges. There is, as we talked about last week, creative blockages where the energy is banging into each other. And that is seriously the thing to take in consideration. What we will be seeing so much in this upcoming month is people banging into each other. Leo is a very subjective, personal, how you see the world, how you sing the world, your personal favorite kind of music, you know, that is very much Leo. Alright, your favorite movie, your favorite drama, okay? And what we're noticing is that everybody has their own preferences. Everybody even has their own unique individuality. Leo rules individuality. It is who you are as a human being, as a person, as a servant in this world, okay? And our individuality is unique, is entirely different from everybody else's. So we're going to talk about ontology. What is ontology? Ontology is the way that you perceive nature, the way you break down and label things in life, is what constructs your reality. Okay? And everybody has a unique ontology. So what we're noticing is that there are all these differences out there. And that can be the challenge this month, leading us to the full moon on August 10th, which is in Aquarius, which is the universe, the galaxy, interconnectivity, the internet, communication. We are going from individuality to interconnectivity, okay? And that is challenging because there is all of these infinitesimal pieces that are different in each of their own right, and they are all connected in the same way to one thing. Alright, and so in order to interact with other human beings, you must respect the differences and the uniformities. We must have a uniform language in order to communicate. We must have some things in common in order for us to relate to one another, but we have to anticipate that there will be differences, and we have to respect that. We have to see the beauty in the differences and the separateness, as well as the uniformity. Okay? So, what we have happening Thursday is the sun comes around and conjuncts Jupiter in the early degrees of Leo. And the early degrees of Leo, as we will discuss, is, you know, young Leo, undeveloped Leo, and he's very much, look at me, look what I have. This is my subjective truth. This is what makes me different. Isn't that awesome? All right? As we move through Cancer, we develop this empathy. And then that empathy leads into mastery of empathy, mastery of interacting with other people, caring for other people, which leads to Leo, which is the king. And then we have Leo sitting on the throne, who says, I have mastered empathy so much well that I have the entire kingdom now sitting below me and everybody looks up to me and respects me. Apparently, you know, the Leo king has to be careful not to become brashful, not to become prideful. Pride is a major key word of Leo, right? We don't want to become overly prideful of our individuality, of our subjectivity, of ourselves with disregard to other people, or we will be overthrown by another king, right? So this new moon has a very interesting Sabian symbol, which is, you know, every degree of the zodiac has a Sabian symbol. It was channeled by a psychic. And this one is, formally dressed elderly man stands near trophies brought back from a hunting expedition. All right? So this is this new moon in Leo conjunct Jupiter. Look at me. Look at my achievements. Look at my story. Look at my history. Look at what I have done. Look at everything I have accomplished. I'm an elderly man. I have lived through so many years. I have so many stories under my belt. I have depth, you know. I have flavor. And I have, more than that, I have these trophies behind my back that stand as a testament to how great and achieved I really am. Okay? And this is really wonderful. You know, when we're talking about the new moon, this is the opportunity to plant your seed for the month ahead. All right? As we said, we're getting in line with the dance using astrology, using the moon cycles. So by studying the new and the full moon, we can see and prepare ourselves for the month ahead. This new moon is, you know what? It is about getting into your subjectivity, your story. It is great and it is profound. However, we do have to be wary of where it is leading us, the lessons that it is taking us into, right? And that's that we got this full moon in Aquarius. And not only that, the sun's going to be conjunct Lilith. It's going to be square to Saturn. We're going to have Mars moving into Scorpio on Friday, July 25th. And then it's going to square this new moon, right? So this new moon has some aggression to it. It has some power to it. You know, this is what starts happening when we become overly subjective and impress it on other people is, look at me, this is my way. Isn't my way great? Shouldn't you regard this as the way? And suddenly we have this really interesting phenomenon where people start talking about religion. They start talking about races. They start talking about these different nations. Okay? This is when Leo rules one kingdom and then there's different kingdoms out there. That's the truth of the universe, is we are a human being. We are the king of our own universe that is our human incarnation, interacting with innumerable other universes, human incarnations, that these people have had innumerable past lives making this story that is highly unique for themselves. Okay? So this is the analogy for Leo. You know, you can sit down a bunch of people in a room and say, I want you to paint a picture of your image of beauty. How do you see beauty? And somebody will paint a beautiful landscape of a forest, maybe some mountains. Somebody else will have the ocean, you know, with seashells and the clouds. Somebody will paint the sky. Somebody will paint a building. This building represents beauty to me because it shows me achievement. It shows me the development of man, and that is beautiful for me. Everybody has their own unique flavor and interpretation of beauty, okay? And we can even say that this is God, right? There are all these different forms of God, and especially when you go to the East, you see all of these different gods and goddesses that are there because everybody has their own unique flavor and interpretation of beauty. So some people like to see God as Kali, this all-encompassing nature, the mother who gives birth to her children and then devours them in death. That is one form of God. Then other people see Krishna, the all-attractive, beautiful lover, who to even set upon eyes for one instant is to be eternally condemned with loving that person because you cannot stop being attracted to that person, whether or not he comes in and out of your life and he is this heartbreaking trickster. Then we have Jesus, who hung himself on the cross. He gave himself, he split himself, he sacrificed himself for everybody. What I'm saying is that these are fundamental truths, right, that people hold in the center of their heart, that is individual and unique and subjective for what they perceive reality, for how their ontology is for interpreting the world and themselves. And we need to be very much trying to appreciate the full spectrum of color. As light hits a spectrum and it splits into, you know, these 7 fundamental colors, that splits into innumerable different colors. This is how it is in life. You know, it all comes from the same place, but there are innumerable different ways. There are innumerable different ways to dress in the morning. There's innumerable different languages. There are different countries, okay? And we need to respect. Respect everything. Leo is respect. Leo is loyalty to the truth, the ultimate truth. Which means that if you are limiting the ultimate truth to your personal preference, you will be misguided. So heed this warning. The key this month is to not get overblown, get over grandiose, and overshoot your personal truth. And be very, very sincere and honest when you are speaking, when you are acting in the world, that you are actually in service to your individual truth. You're not just representing what mom and dad told you to do. You're not just representing your personal religion because that's what you were taught in schools, because that's what your culture told you, that's what your nation told you. Your individual personal truth is seated in your heart. You cannot change it. You cannot even pretend that it's something else. You will feel the insincerity. You will feel that you are getting off track. And what will happen is you will learn the lessons, especially this month. If we overblow, if we do the volcanic eruption and start condemning and start, doing all this, speaking, over-speaking, overblowing. This is Jupiter conjunct the moon in Leo. We are feeling grandiose. We're feeling like we are confident. We're feeling confident. Make sure that you check your confidence. Make sure that your security is real security. Make sure that you're not arguing and talking with other people to try and get a sense of security, that you have that security before you open your mouth. Okay, because people will learn their lessons the hard way. And that means that if you align your truth with a truth that's not really yours, and it's not even really the truth, you have to learn that that's not the truth. And then there's this whole dark night of the soul. Oh, we thought we were this for so long, and then it crumbles apart, and then we don't know who we are, and then we're swimming in Aquarius full moon, where there's so much stuff, that, the galaxy is so big and uncomprehending that we don't even know what we are. We can't even identify with an individual self, which is when things get overblown in Aquarius, right? And I personally, in these videos, in my readings, I like to take sides with the underdog, I speak for the people that are sort of prejudiced against. And because we're moving into the new age of Aquarius and all the energy is becoming Aquarius and we have the internet and technology, blah, 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 I tend to speak out for Leo, which is opposite of Aquarius. Leo being the highly subjective individual truth. I say, your ego is not a problem. You should get into your ego. Your ego is beautiful. It is important. It is you. It is your story. It is not just an illusion. You don't have to throw it away. You don't have to chop your head off. That type of mentality is futile anyways. However, this month, because we have Mars moving into Scorpio. Mars has been in Libra for like 4 months, and he's detrimented in Libra. He's not happy in Libra. He's weakened. He's not strong. He's been doing this retrograde over the past 4 months. He's had to, do all these conflicts with other people and feeling like our will is, not aligned with other people's will. And now he's moving into Scorpio and he wants to take charge. Mars used to rule Scorpio. Scorpio is desire, power, sex, very, very powerful, tumultuous, death, all these things. And he speaks really powerfully. You know what? I don't care about you. Shut up and go away. He has this very brash and mean sort of voice in Scorpio. Okay? So we have to talk a little bit about righteous anger, because where we have a lot of solar egoic energy, there can be anger. When we see nations fighting nations and people taking sides and suddenly your truth is being prejudiced against, it can be difficult. So let's go back to that analogy of people having the paintings, alright? So everybody painted their own painting of what their own interpretation of beauty is: the ocean, the sky, the forest, the building. Now they're suddenly in critique, and what do you think is going to happen if everybody goes from painting to painting? You know what? That's shit. That doesn't look like beauty to me. That looks like poop. That looks like this, who thinks the sky is beauty? Who thinks a building is beautiful? What a terrible depiction of beauty. Beauty is supposed to be nature. Beauty doesn't have buildings. Buildings is destroying nature, blah, blah, blah. This is what's going to happen in this month. We got this Uranus energy. We're going to have on this upcoming Thursday, Mercury's going to square Uranus. Right at the time of the new moon, we have Venus opposing Pluto. I mean, this is potent, serious stuff where people are butting heads, where emotions are coming up because people are getting defensive of their own story, of their own truth. And should people really be upset about getting defensive of their truth, of their religion, of their history being trampled upon? No. There is a thing as righteous anger, but we have to make sure that our righteous anger is in service to productivity instead of destruction, okay? So we don't take our righteous anger and say, well, you trod upon my truth, so I'm going to destroy yours. No, we take our anger and we turn it into productivity. We say, you know what, I'm going to build a fortress around myself that makes me secure and impenetrable to the doubts of other people who do not understand my truth. Maybe you don't understand my religion, maybe you don't understand my personal history, my story. You don't understand my individual, my person, my character. You don't understand that, but you know what? It's because you don't understand it. It's because you don't know me. And that's okay, because I am confident with myself. I don't need the world to be behind me. It's not a popularity contest. I don't need to have every single person in the immediate friend group, in the immediate, community, to be holding up signs and cheering my name and singing my praises everywhere I go. I don't need that, okay? But I do need respect, not just for myself, for everybody. And I'm going to show the world how that is done through respecting everybody else as well. Even if people are going to condemn me, I'm still going to respect you. I'm going to respect your freedom to do that. I'm going to respect your personal opinion. I'm going to respect your religion. I don't care if you're an atheist or a theist. It doesn't matter. In my universe, everybody is permitted to have free will and to be their own unique individuals. And because I see the universe as being like light hitting a prism and splitting into innumerable colors, I'm going to attempt to break apart and see that this month, to really study and analyze my own opinions. Let's become Aquarius. Let's be scientific of our own subjective story this month as we are being submerged in it, as we are feeling this anger and this. And anger isn't negative. Anger can be productive. Again, anger says I'm going to create a structure around myself that allows me to flourish without being torn down and destroyed. So anger can be productive. Anger is setting boundaries against that which is unhealthy from you. All right? If you drink something that makes you sick and that makes you angry, just don't drink of it anymore, right? This is how we can use anger to be productive. We can, instead of getting angry and try to verbally debate with anybody who doesn't understand my personal opinion, I'm just going to be charged with my own way, and I'm going to create something productive in my own opinion. Right? I'm going to create something that is undoubtedly respectful. I'm going to create a charity. I'm going to do a YouTube video series about humanitarian efforts. Something like this, right? We're using it productively. Okay? That doesn't mean that we get overcharged, which means that we're declaring war on other people. Oh, I'm going to create a video series on YouTube that is pointing out the flaws of other people and defends my way and only my way and how it's superior to everybody else. No, we are trying to meet everybody on an equal platform as well as study ourselves, our history, our personal subjective opinions and truths with that scientific mind. That way we can have balance. It's all about balance. And the balance this month is between Leo and Aquarius, which is about individuality, creativity, and expression. All right? So this new moon on Saturday, it's exact at 6:42 p.m. 6:42. Do your meditation, do your intention, planting the seed of what you want to create in the month ahead. And we could really harness that Jupiter energy, which is expansive, moving out, moving beyond, going beyond what we've done in the past. Really reaching that next stage of creation. Rather than just dreaming it in our head, we start doing. That is harnessing this powerful, raw, unadulterated solar energy and charging out. I'm going to start building my businesses, building my communities, building the new way forward. Instead of just thinking about it or getting frustrated because other people aren't appreciating it, I'm just going to start doing it. I'm going to harness my own individual power and make manifest my truth. And yes, I do have to scrutinize myself. I do have to use the scientific analytical mind to make sure, use that objectivity to measure your own sincerity. And if you feel insincere, if you feel like, might have just said something that weren't my words, they were somebody else's that got stuck in my brain years ago, or through a book, or through a teaching, or through some dogma or another, Make sure that you are completely sincere with that. Check yourself. That way you don't get beat up later on. And certainly before you set foot into the war zone of this month where people are clashing and banging into each other and it's one opinion versus the next, make sure that you are secure in yourself and not going out there with a sword in hand ready to chop off people's heads, but go there with the sense of dignity and loyalty of Leo. Okay? That's what this month is taking us into, and it takes us into Virgo. So by studying the music and the fluctuations of nature, we see what is coming next, and Leo leads into Virgo, and Virgo is the humble, selfless, small, does not see themselves very puffed up and big and powerful and ruler of everything. Virgo sees himself as small, servant of other people, of everything, of the world, okay? Leo leads us to Virgo. Yes, we may have learned from Cancer how to become very powerful, how to become emotionally important to other people. But then we have to learn from that, how do we stay in that position of being a good servant? And when we find what our core truth in our heart is, it is always some form of service to other people. Because we will never find true love or happiness or satisfaction from being selfish and sitting on the throne and collecting everything for ourselves. That only makes someone greedy for more and more and more, and they get insatiable lust. Okay? The way we avoid that is we become a servant for other people, which means we don't see ourselves as bigger than them, better than them, more knowledgeable than them. We see ourselves as their servant. So when we go out into the war zone of clashing subjective truths, we go out there with our personal truth, which is a form of service to others. That way we can actually be implemented in a productive, positive way instead of just causing endless chaos and drama and confusion and complexity. With Mars moving into Scorpio, we will feel our will bump up against the enormous complexity that is there in life, the karma, the depth that is there. There is not so much easy solutions where you have innumerable different opinions and everybody got taught something different. And people are running around chopping each other's heads off because they're seeing each other as the enemy. Learn from Virgo, learn from the Aquarius energy of the full moon coming up on August 10th. That we are all interconnected. That we are not really limited to just our own viewpoint. Our viewpoint has its beauty because of the, perspective of other people seeing it. All right? If we didn't have that separation, we couldn't appreciate the diversity of flavors that is out there. So appreciate your own flavor as well as appreciating the diversity that is out there, and see all people as your brothers and sisters which you are aligned in service to. And you will find yourself being much less wrapped up and blown up in the head and blown up in the solar plexus and getting into fights and feeling restless and exhausted and totally run over by the energy of August coming up. All right? So I'm wishing you the very best to you and your beloveds. You can schedule a reading with me at the link below. I'm in the middle of changing websites, so there's some technical things going on with the old website. It's a little slow and bumpy. The new one's going to be a lot faster, smoother, prettier, etc. If you're having difficulty scheduling with me, please send an email to the link below. That's contact@rosalilihealing.com. We can schedule an appointment. I can send a recording, via a different way. We don't have to go through the online system. So get in contact with me, and I'll be in contact with you, and I'm very happy to be working with you. All the best. Namaste.